right, I'd like to call the Village of Cottage Grove Village Board of Trustees to order on Tuesday, March 18th at 6:30 p.m. We are in the Village Hall as well as on Zoom. The Zoom link is at the top of the agenda. We have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted, and we'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, then, we have public appearances. This is public's opportunity to speak on any subject. If you are from the public, we just ask that you share your name, your address, your municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes, just in case we have a lot of folks who would like to speak. So with that, I'll be quiet. Anybody in the room or on Zoom? Next, then, we'll discuss and consider the meeting minutes from our village board meeting held on March 3rd. Any questions, comments in regards to the meeting minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
And I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Then we move on to unfinished business. This is to discuss and consider a developer agreement with CR Cottage Grove Land LLC, bracket Heyday. I'll turn it over to Rick.
So this is a development agreement related to the Heyday project over at BB and Bus. So basically, this is a public improvement agreement. So they've already obtained their zoning approvals from the village. This is just requiring them to install all the public improvements, so the fundamental way, street extension, sewer, water throughout the development, complete the multi-use path. So basically, this is an agreement that makes sure that they're following through with everything that they said they would before the village. There's no, financial incentive that's being provided to them. So the other requirement is the developer has to provide either a letter of credit or bond in the amount of 120% of the improvements. That way, if they don't construct those improvements, we can still go out and do that by pulling the bond. It is one of the contingencies is that they have to actually go through the process of vacating a portion of fundamental way. So that would be a petition that would come forth from them at some point in the near future. But otherwise, we've worked with the developer, and it's fairly standard agreement, similar to the other ones that we've done in the village for multifamily developments.
Any questions for Rick?
I'll make a motion that we approve the development agreement with CR Cottage Grove Land LLC as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Then we slide down to new business. First up is to discuss and consider authorizing a resolution for establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $3.335 million in general obligation promissory notes for the projects in 2025. So I think, Harry, you're on the Zoom here to present for hours.
Yeah, good evening. Let me share my screen here quick. I know you guys have already talked about this quite a bit through the financial management plan update earlier this year. So I'm going to keep these comments a little bit higher level, just giving you kind of an update on what we're looking at here for the sale. So starting with a timeline, here we are today, March 18th, for pre-sale review by the village board, where you'll take action on a parameters resolution. That resolution does specify certain bid requirements that need to be met on the day of sale. If those requirements are set, it designates certain village staff members to award the sale on behalf of the board. So from tonight, we will move forward, and we have a rating call scheduled with S&P for next week on Monday. We'll go through the rating update process with them, and then once we get that rating, we'll go ahead and distribute the official statement to the market. That will happen around April 2nd. And then we will have the actual bond sale occur on April 9th. The reason that we're waiting until April 2nd to distribute the official statement is just we want to know which way the referendum goes so that we fully disclose to the market the financials future of the village, just so that we are making sure all that information is as up to date as possible. But April 9th is when we're planning on having that bond sale, and then funds will be in hand at the village on May 1st. So just going through some of the financial exhibits here. The early tables kind of give you a summary of where the debt is for the village right now. I'll touch on that later on though. And then tables 2, 3, and 4 give you an idea of what projects are built into the model for how we project the future debt. But diving into what's being borrowed for this year, there's a variety of different purposes that are being borrowed for, all under a general obligation pledge. So this means you are pledging the property tax to repay this debt, but not all of it is going to be repaid directly by the property tax. By borrowing on a general obligation basis, you achieve the lowest cost of financing that the village can access. So this is a way of just making sure your interest costs are as low as they can be overall by combining some non-property tax type projects into here. So looking at what's being funded, there's some shorter life projects being funded by the levy. That's around 950,000 of projects. We've amortized those shorter life assets over 5 years. You have some longer life assets that are being amortized over 10 years that are also levy supported. That's around 1.1 million of the borrowing. You have some police projects right around 600,000 that is being amortized over a longer term as well. And then the utility projects, you have some actual utility install to the tune of around 465,000 in your water utility. That's being amortized over 10 years. And then you also have some equipment for both the water and sewer utilities that are going to be amortized over 5 years. Those are both around 70,000. From there, you add in the cost of issuance, net out some assumed interest earnings during the spend down period. And that's how we get to the issuance size before you tonight of 3,335,000. This next schedule is giving you an idea of how that debt is structured. So you can see moving left to right, we have that 5-year levy portion structured over a 5-year repayment term. And then kind of the same as you move to the right, the levy portions do delay some of that principal to 2028 to account for existing debt of the village. Looking at the financing plan tax impact, this schedule does assume the library referendum passes and the library is built, so it accounts for any associated debt with that project. This shows that in 2025, the village had a debt service levy of right around 1.6 million. That is already stepping up in 2026 based on your existing debt to around 2.27 million. So this debt was structured with that in mind. So we limited the 2026 payment on that. So we're looking at an increase up to around 2.4 million. So largely that increase from 25 to 26 is existing debt, but this does add some amount to it. We might receive on the day of sale what's known as bid premium, which could go to the debt service fund and abate some of this $128,000 increase. Moving forward, we have all the various debt issues that are in those early tables 2 through 4, just showing all those projects being funded over time. So you do see continued increases in the debt service levy until about 2031, where the debt service levy hits 6.5 million, and then you see it start to drop off from there. What does this mean on your geo debt capacity analysis? So this is looking at that 5% limit that the state sets, that you cannot have more than 5% of your equalized value outstanding in general obligation debt principal at any given time. If the library is constructed, we show that you would have 78% would be the max that you would hit on this test, and that would hit in 2026. And then you would step down from there year after year. Just to give you an idea of where things would shake out without the library, assume that that referendum does not pass. Looking at 2031, the debt service levy would be a little bit lower. Here you're right around 6 million as the max. And then your utilization of that geo debt capacity is lower as well. So hitting a max here of 68%. that's everything I had on the sale for this year. If there are questions, I'm happy to take those now.
Any questions for Harry Ellers?
I had a question, because we just approved the developer agreement with Heyday, and one of the conditions is the bike path, the bus and BB bike path, and so we wouldn't be moving forward.